according to computer. And this is chapter 3, section 4, error and the ego. So, the abilities you now possess are only shadows of your real strength. All of your present functions are divided and open to question and doubt. This is because you are not certain how you will use them and are therefore incapable of knowledge. You are also incapable of knowledge because you can still perceive lovelessly. Perception did not exist until the separation introduced degrees, aspects, and intervals. Spirit has no levels, and all conflict arises from the concept of levels. Only the levels of the Trinity are capable of unity. The levels created by the separation cannot but conflict. This is because they are meaningless to each other. Consciousness, the level of perception, was the first split introduced into the mind after the separation, making the mind a perceiver rather than a creator. Consciousness is correctly identified as the domain of the ego. The ego is a wrong-minded attempt to perceive yourself as you wish to be, rather than as you are. Yet, you can know yourself only as you are, because that is all you can be sure of. Everything else is open to question. The ego is the questioning aspect of the post-separation self, which was made rather than created. It is capable of asking questions, but not of perceiving meaningful answers, because these would involve knowledge and cannot be perceived. The mind is therefore confused, because only one-mindedness can be without confusion. A separated or divided mind must be confused. It is necessarily uncertain about what it is. It has to be in conflict because it is out of accord with itself. This makes its aspects strangers to each other, and this is the essence of the fear-prone condition, in which attack is always possible. You have every reason to feel afraid as you perceive yourself. This is why you cannot escape from fear until you realize that you did not and could not create yourself. You can never make your misperceptions true, and your creation is beyond your own error. That is why you must eventually choose to heal the separation. Right-mindedness is not to be confused with the knowing mind, because it is applicable only to right perception. You can be right-minded or wrong-minded, and even this is subject to degrees, clearly demonstrating that knowledge is not involved. The term right-mindedness is properly used as the correction for wrong-mindedness and applies to the state of mind that induces accurate perception. It is miracle-minded because it heals misperception, and this is indeed a miracle in view of how you perceive yourself. Perception always involves some misuse of mind because it brings the mind into areas of uncertainty. The mind is very active. When it chooses to be separated, it chooses to perceive. Until then, it wills only to know. Afterwards, it can only choose ambiguously, and the only way out of ambiguity is clear perception. The mind returns to its proper function only when it wills to know. This places it in the service of spirit, where perception is changed. The mind chooses to divide itself when it chooses to make its own levels, but it could not entirely separate itself from spirit, because it is from spirit that it derives its whole power to make or create. Even in miscreation, the mind is affirming its source, or it would merely cease to be. This is impossible because the mind belongs to spirit, which God created and which is therefore eternal. The ability to perceive made the body possible because you must perceive something and with something. That is why perception involves an exchange or translation, which knowledge does not need. The interpretative function of perception a distorted form of creation, then permits you to interpret the body as yourself in an attempt to escape from the conflict you have induced. Spirit, which knows, could not be reconciled with this loss of power because it is incapable of darkness. This makes spirit almost inaccessible to the mind and entirely inaccessible to the body. Thereafter, spirit is perceived as a threat because light abolishes darkness merely by showing you it is not there. Truth will always overcome error in this way. This cannot be an active process of correction because, as I have already emphasized, knowledge does not do anything. It can be perceived as an attacker, but it cannot attack. What you perceive as its attack is your own vague recognition that knowledge can always be remembered, never having been destroyed. God and God's creations remain in surety and therefore know that no miscreation exists. Truth cannot deal with errors that you want. I was a man, and this is the voice of Yeshua, Jesus. I was a man who remembered spirit and its knowledge. As a man, I did not attempt to counteract an error with knowledge, but to correct error from the bottom up. I demonstrated both the powerlessness of the body and the power of the mind. By uniting my will with that of my Creator, I naturally remembered spirit and its real purpose. I cannot unite your will with God's for you, but I can erase all misperceptions from your mind if you will bring it under my guidance. And my guidance, that's Christ's guidance. Only your misperceptions stand in your way. Without them, your choice is certain. Sane perception induces sane choosing. I cannot choose for you, but I can help you make your own right choice. Many are called, but few are chosen. Should be, all are called, but few choose to listen. Therefore, they do not choose right. They do not choose. The chosen ones are merely those who choose right sooner. Right minds can do this now, and they will find rest unto their souls. God knows you only in peace, and this is your reality. So, error and the ego. A lot of things pop up here, meaning it's the ego, as seen by the Board of Illustrations on the projection on the screen. The domain of ego is written in red, and it's all these things. It's perception and physical matter, clearly number and quantity, bodies, all its time and space, anything that separates, anything that makes us less than God. To be less than implies a division. Something that is wholeness, everything, God is whole. There's no separation, there's no number, there's no quantity. From one, the only way to get many from one is to divide. So, the domain of the ego is the separated state, is God's self choosing to experience God's self as a part of the whole. It doesn't make it real. That just means it's a choice, a framework from which it is operating. So all of these concepts in red are in the domain of ego. Even consciousness, which took me a bit by surprise upon rereading this section. Consciousness is in the domain of the ego.
Yeah, that was jolting. Yeah, because there's so much conversation and literature and courses and everything about consciousness kind of being the all of all, right? I mean, the all that is, that consciousness is part of the perceptual world. That was like, oh, let me reread that.
Yeah, and it's consciousness is the level of perception. So
it's obvious, right? When you think about it, it's really obvious.
Once it's framed in that way, yeah. And yeah,
that was a little corner in this world of small I, imaginary, illusory world. I didn't realize it, but I had this little corner carved out. Consciousness, that's not a part of that, but it is.
and you know what? You know what gives it away really when once we realize this? The levels of consciousness. There are levels. There's higher consciousness, you know?
Oh, right. That there's something that isn't something else.
That's the giveaway. The fact that there are these degrees of consciousness, that we can be more conscious than something else or another time.
That it evolves, that it changes.
Yeah.
Anything that changes.
Higher consciousness.
I know.
Higher. I mean,
about it all
higher
the time.
consciousness.
I know.
So, all of that said, you know, history, all of our ego traits, even consciousness, you know, all implies splits, implies levels, implies degrees, order of difficulty, which the miracle seeks. The job of the miracle is to correct the order of difficulty, because with the miracle, there is no order of difficulty. There's just the miracle, and it happens, and just things are just quick, boom. And we didn't do anything. It just happened. The miracle, boom. We didn't, there's no difficulty. There is, well, there's one difficulty. So there's no order. The one difficulty, I mean, we could think of it as we gave the little willingness. we stood clear for the miracle to happen. So there is, I mean, the difficulty is like this. It's just like
it's right before you choose. The difficulty is the
choice
land where you haven't chosen.
That is the order of difficulty. That's the realm of order of difficulty. Before, outside of choice. Whether it's before or after, post-separation self, pre-choice, if we're not choosing, because at the end of this, it's framed as choosing right. But really, that's not even necessary, because there's one choice. It's choosing right. So we're choosing, or we're in this post-separation self, this pre-conscious self, which is, sorry, it's the red, the one in red.
Oh, there's your red. I thought the red was in your book. Oh, okay, there's the red. I see. That's funny. I didn't see that before.
Yes. So, yeah, illusion, all the anything that we could label our imaginary self that is less than God, less than everything. Anything that goes as a label for that is domain of ego. Even separated minds, because what are separated minds but consciousness? And
I'm wondering if you could address something, because I keep tripping over it. I don't remember exactly how it was worded in this chapter, but it's the idea, it says, basically, you have to get over this idea that you created yourself. And I don't quite understand what that means. I never thought in this small I world that I created myself. So how would you talk about that? What are they saying?
This concept is similar to the concept of Christ. It goes right along with these concepts, which are bridges, I would say. It's a bridge to truth. Really, the bridge has no distance, so it's not necessary. But this whole movement, like the New Age movement of manifestation and bringing things into our life and taking credit for that, claiming ownership. There's a fine line between claiming ourself, our one self, claiming our identity, and claiming claiming to be our own maker. I'll say maker, in the sense that we created this, we made this ego self, we brought all these possessions. We are solely responsible for our history and all of these things on this board that we, the ego, made that, brought it into existence, manifested it. So it's still in the domain of the ego to say that I did not create myself. But it's a bridge over to truth, because at least it acknowledges that ego is not ultimate truth.
I don't want to beat this, keep beating it if there's
Continue.
no consensus of interest, but I think I get all of that. I'm going back to that, so ego created all of that, but this idea that Karen Gordon created Karen Gordon in this imaginary world, what is A Course in Miracles saying? What does it mean? Not the bridge about get over it, that you created yourself, but what does it mean that you created yourself? I get what it means, that manifestational world, I created the couch, I created all these things, but what about creating this, not the body, the identification itself, the small I?
Perhaps this best speaks to the atheist in Helen Schucman, because I think this is not all that controversial with somebody who would perhaps identify as a Christian or as a theist, as somebody who believes in God with a creator, somebody who believes in this concept.
Yeah.
Essentially believes that I did not create myself. That goes hand in hand. But for an atheist, what created myself?
Yeah.
I'm just a process of random collisions that come together. But what created my awareness of this?
Yeah.
Is that just a process of my brain?
That's what
that is essentially saying I created myself.
Oh, right there. Okay. Yeah, I can stretch to that.
It's claiming, and again, it's the ego domain. It's the ego claiming credit for the creation of the ego, where really mind is the only creative level.
Yeah.
But for the ego to claim credit for itself, that's what it boils down to, I believe. Shabana is saying something.
Yeah, I mean, Karen is just exasperating me because
I didn't want to. Had a feeling.
Got it, right. I'm just kidding. Well, I just find it so hilarious, Karen, that I could have summarized the whole thing in a big hurry, because when I married my husband, there was only one thing he'd ever tell me over and over and over is, I am a self-made man. And if we ever went for a walk on the beach, get out there and write, I am the greatest, right?
Wow, that kind of helps, Shabana.
Well, I was just trying to tell you, let's not get into Helen Schucman. I've got it right here. I've got it pegged,
Right there, yeah. I get that. Self-made man, and I did this, and that is the creation of oneself. Yeah.
And all my whole family, you look at their houses, and that's the picture frame, right?
It's the picture frame. It is.
Thank you for that. That was really helpful.
I thought so. But I'm too humble to ever.
No, that's it, Shabana. Thank you. That really is perfect. because that summarizes it. How can you create yourself if you're a self-made person?
That's right. That's just perfect. Yeah.
Essentially, what it boils down to is that they're in competition with God, right? Like, I didn't need you to create me. You know, I'm good, thank you.
It's well, you know, it's like, you know, there's no judgment here, but like it's kind of like it's almost proving that that there is no God. You know, there's no, and what is God really but all of ourself, our collective self, really, you know, everything, not in the old, you know, mistaken sense of some being that's outside of the world that's saying this person will do this and this. It's a simplistic, childish view of God. Um, but all of ourself.
I don't think God even gets into it because the ego is too big to leave room for him.
But getting back to what God is a larger, an identity that's just lit on another level than ego. Ego is this self that has all of these traits that so badly want to be infinity. That does everything in its power to make bigger, longer, more powerful, because it yearns for infinity, the place from which it was created. The mind which created ego is in this place. So ego knows that it's limited and try and proves that it's not limited by just adding more stuff. But it doesn't work. You can't add stuff to make infinity. And we can, you know, it's the, you know, wrong-mindedness to think that, well, I'm lacking, so let me just add more to my lacking and I'll be complete. And that's I think where this comes in perfectly is in that mind frame, is to remember that we did not make ourselves. Perhaps.
Tim, in paragraph 3, I think it's sentence 7 or sentence 5. It is necessarily uncertain about what it is. It has to be in conflict because it is out of accord with itself. So, and then sentence 8, you have every reason to feel afraid as you perceive yourself. This is why you cannot escape from fear until you realize that you did not and could not create yourself. That's basically what you read. And I'm just thinking about the last sentence, 11, that this is why you must eventually choose to heal the separation. I mean, when I think back to my children's father and his hostility towards me, all I'm thinking is that, you know, until he chooses to heal the separation, that attack and self-hatred won't go.
Well, this is where you come into play, Shabana. You can choose for him. You can choose. You can choose to see. You can choose to see his true identity for him if he's not seeing it for himself. Because even just by perceiving, by our choice and how we perceive each other strengthens that in the other. It's because we have one mind sharing all these perceptions.
And if we don't do that in any particular instance in our lives with any person or situation, then we remain in the small I world because it's not a universal application of the innocence, of the atonement, of the forgiveness. So even if there's just one little corner, one little toothpick, one little bit, then it's not, there's no compromise. It either is capital I or it is small I. So if there's any place where we're not doing that, love, forgiveness, atonement, then it's the I. It's still the I. Small I mean.
Yeah.
I saw it when I said I. Small I.
The perceiving I, maybe.
A perceiving I. Mm-hmm.
That's very, very powerful, because in paragraph 6, I think it's sentence 7. This makes spirit almost inaccessible to the mind and entirely inaccessible to the body. Therefore, spirit is perceived as a threat, because light will always overcome error in this way. Because light abolishes darkness merely by showing you it is not there. Truth will always overcome error in this way. So you're saying that essentially my perception is to see the unity, which he cannot. That's the blessing for me and him.
Yes. Yes, that's how to bless him. I'll need to pull a quote from later on in this text at some point. Maybe I'll send an email. It says something along the lines of, do not allow your brother to perceive himself as insane through your mind. And when we're in this paradigm of separate consciousness and separate minds, even clearly bodies, we tend to think that we have isolated thoughts and judgments, that what we perceive in another is just kind of, meaningless in a sense, where it has no substance. But when it's framed in the sense of, don't allow him to misperceive himself in your mind, then all of a sudden we have a responsibility, every perception we have, to perceive everybody as we are, as I am.
So I get this on kind of like a humanitarian, emotional level. Would you say that on maybe like a logical level, our brothers are a mental construct anyway? So it's sort of like the logic of it is you always have to, in terms of thought being a construct, you always, what do I want to say? The universal application of atonement and forgiveness in every instance is just would be the thing to do, because I'm asking from a logical standpoint, all of that out there that we're judging is a mental construct anyway, so clean it up, like just clean up the thought. That's just a different view than an emotional, you're a brother, you're a human being, I care about you, so I could do this for you, kind of like Dr. Len and the Ho'oponopono thing.
It goes right along with, I think it was a previous section that said, like your creator, you are an idea. So our brother is just an idea.
Ultimately, yeah.
Yeah. Our foot, our toes it's just an idea. It's an idea of toes.
Yeah. Bottom line, this is a thought.
Yes.
I don't know. That's very trippy. I know. But just.
Yeah. when my son was about 9 months old, he went up to a mirror and started to bang on it because he couldn't understand why he couldn't reach the child inside the mirror. And that's, I think, essentially what you're saying, Karen, that our thoughts and our judgments about our brother is just an opportunity to clean up, because these are mirrors. We're just mirrors to each other. And I mean, we don't slap the mirror like my son did.
Sometimes.
But what we are doing here now, from what Tim just said to me, is that there is we have a responsibility to bless each other, because I was listening to David reading the workbook thing after I listened to this. And what he said is that there's no such thing as a private thought, that everyone knows our thoughts. And that's what you just said, is that I can radiate the love of wholeness and unity because everyone's called, but very few listen.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I can blast the message.
Just shine a warmth. That's it. Just shine the warmth. The warmth.
It's humor, because like we were just looking at the man. I mean, no one wanted to go near him except they all want his money, right? So
We can bless. You know, Shabani, you make me think of it in a nice way. It's kind of like these thoughts that we have. Yes, it's an opportunity to bless. And maybe more fundamentally, it's kind of like I have cats in my where I live, my RV. And every so often, you know, maybe I'll drop a raisin on the floor that I don't see. And without fail, these cats will find this little piece of trash in the corner and start batting it around the place, the apartment. And so they're just, I mean, I can't get mad at them for batting around the trash in my place, but I can be happy that they showed me that there's trash in my place so I could pick it up and put it in the trash rather than on the floor where it belongs. And subconsciously, every opportunity that we have to clean up this subconscious trash that we haven't noticed, haven't inspected, haven't been conscious of, is an opportunity to bless and an opportunity to thank, to be appreciative that some idea that we call our brother is allowing us the opportunity to clean our subconscious, our mind, our internal thought process, perhaps.
Well, for me, it would be developing a little bit of compassion, maybe.
Well, remember, I don't think you can fully bless if there's some ego thing that's still desired. So, but we can see through it and bless and see. My favorite one, or at least one of my favorite, probably my favorite single line from the text is, your brother is the mirror in which you see the image of yourself. And that speaks right along with the story that you were saying of your son patting on the ear, but everything that we perceive is literally a mirror of ourself, and we try and get smashed through the mirror sometimes, but it's originating within.
But is it a reflection of who we really are, or is it a reflection of the ego self?
I think it's,
Which image?
well,
The image that we want, that we utilize forgiveness for, you know.
well, we're trying, for me, I'm speaking for myself, it's always a desire to clear out the cobwebs of where I have chosen not to love. For me, it's just, getting a duster and wiping away those places where even Tim's cats couldn't find the reason.
So what if we recognize that those cobwebby places are past and don't exist now?
They sure do exist, as far as I can tell.
How so?
Because why would this person that I haven't seen since the last meeting when my daughter graduated from whatever, I haven't seen him and I haven't seen my sisters in, it's just such a big country and we live so far away. So we just travel out for big occasions. So the hostility and the fear that we witness is simply stuff that is within me, but I couldn't observe it because I haven't been around this vibration for so long. That's all.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, that was beautifully worded. And what that feels like to me is that it's current. It's current. So being current, then we have the opportunity to choose love, like you said, those areas where you haven't.
And it's essentially an exploration of myself, because the only cure for anything is compassion for myself.
Yes, and starting perhaps with a maybe a conscious self, but really extending the idea of self to know no border. But the beauty of the atonement is that it can start from imaginary self. Because we forgive imaginary self, then we forgive all other imaginary selves. It's only natural.
It has to be in my face though, Tim. I had to actually witness it. And my two children who are quite old, 29 and 34, trying to separate us.
Well, this is the beauty, because like Karen was saying, it's not here, at least not on the surface. But this opportunity, this showed us that it was somehow hidden. And so it really is an opportunity to heal the separation. It was somehow a buried separation that's now brought to the light where it can be healed. So it's really a blessing on that anytime this sort of troubling feeling comes up with another, for instance.
And that is exactly what you said, Shabana, when you talked about the cobwebby areas.
Well, what I find quite funny is that the self-creation and the competition with God, and of course the man really is head and shoulders above everything and everyone. There's no doubt about that. You know, his fame, his renown, whatever, you name it, he's got it. But it did not bring peace, or you could have cut the hostility. So that's what I find so amusing, is that I have nothing, but my son always told me, listen, and I'd be whining and bitching constantly. And my son said, listen, Mom, you have no idea that Dad might have the frame, the picture frame, but life is about loving and being loved, and you have me and Amina. That's what he used to tell me, is that is, I mean, the theory is wonderful, the love is the glue that binds the universes. But when he said it to me, I wanted to shake him. Like, I didn't want to believe it.
But it's true. It's true. I mean, how many you're muted, Shabana.
It might be true, but I didn't want to hear it. I wasn't, see, like, you have to open the door of your heart to receive the love. Now,
you didn't have the little willingness.
Yeah, exactly. But now, having seen that the whole shebang, the beautiful picture frame, cranked up the hostility. So that's the only thing that made it real. And now I feel, I mean, this is 100 years later after the events took place, but now I see the responsibility to share the only thing that matters, which is we are eternal, we are love, and you were called, but you didn't listen. So I will express that here and now.
Indeed, and the beautiful part about if choosing not to listen is that we can choose again. And of course, in Miracles does say, you know, you can choose not to listen, but I will just remain here, patient, until you choose again.
And when I look at my brother and I say, you chose to not listen, then that is the mirror reflection of this choosing or this not listening. So then we just choose. There it is. Choose, listen, love, forgive.
Yes. And I find that to be a very helpful way of framing things, taking the first, second, and third person out of the picture and just stating this, if rather than saying he is being judgmental, to take that out and say this is judgmental. Do we want to sit with that? No. This is love. Okay, we can sit with that. This is joy, and that's not anybody doing it, because joy is not something to be done. Love is not something to be done. It's just a state. It's a result. It's a state of being resulting from choosing. We choose and we're able to be in love, in joy, truth. And this is truth. That doesn't come from anywhere outside of ourselves, but there is no place outside of ourselves Everything is internal, even what seems to be external. So this is love.
Well, I really love that, removing the pronouns, and I think it's a very useful technique. I was going to say something else about that. Anyway, I'm not.
There's another word for it. It'll come to you, Karen, if you just give it a couple of minutes. I just learned a new word. It's called engoldenment. And it was some speaker somewhere. And what it means is, have you heard it before, Tim?
No. Mm-mm.
So this is a Sufi teaching. You know what Sufis are? Yeah.
Very vaguely, yes.
Okay, well, it predates all the religions. What it means, and they have, it's a form of mysticism, which could be called Islamic, but it certainly isn't. It predates Islam for sure. But what it essentially says is that if we can bring in the light of God from our crown chakra and absorb the love and the golden light within our hearts and soak other souls in there, then it is engoldenment. And the only thing that I've seen which is similar to that is some little bottle that you could buy in the store. I mean, this is about 40 years ago. And you could put your silverware into it and it would come out shiny and bright.
Well, the first version seems a lot nicer.
That's caustic.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So the pronoun bit, it's a very useful technique to just stay really current and here and now. When we use pronouns, it's like we fuel the ego. We give the ego fuel to continue the concept of separation. Anytime I say you or her over there, wherever my camera is, that just adds energy to the concept of separation. So I love the technique of just removing it and just saying, this is power, this is love, this is apathy, this is impatience, whatever it is. And then clean it up here like, oh, well, I love anyway. I love anyway. You punched me yesterday. You showed up today. I love you. Anyway. Any old way.
All way.
All way.
Every way. And it becomes more relational. Whereas like even the statement, I love you, is kind of like a direction. It's like there's one way that this flows, but that's not how love works. When we say this is love, it's mutual. That's love. It's mutual. So this is love. It's more relational, and this is power. That's a shared attribute. Shared. It's never one way. Love needs that connection. Power, joy. There's no joy that's just one source. It's once these tendrils connect, boom, this is joy. This is joy. It's the relation. That's not. And that relation is brings us, I think, these connections, like obviously there's only connection between things, but when we're connecting, when these seemingly separate minds are connecting through joy, it affirms, right, of course. This is our identity. This is identity when we're connecting with all these separate minds, and every mind becomes one. This is identity. It's a shared one mind, and it's only it's the relation between that's important. That's A Course of Love gets a lot more into the relation between things as the substance, which I find to be a very nice way of putting it, because there's no. How can you quantify a relation? How can you measure it? It's not tangible.
So I just got, oh, go ahead, Shabana.
Please forgive me. I just want to give you a little bit of a geography lesson.
Geography?
I can always use a geography lesson. It's not my strong suit.
Well, it's spiritual geography.
All right.
Even better.
We're here. That's it. Okay. What were Karen you going to say? No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll just make it as brief as possible. Does anybody here, Jane, do you watch ice hockey?
When the Devils are playing, sometimes. New Jersey Devils. I have a friend that's on the Devils.
You don't, really?
I do. Kyle Palmieri. We grew up together.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, see, in Canada, that's the national sport. And I can't stand it. Have no. I came here when I was 20. Just any sports gets on my nerves. But anyway, there's one guy who has been saying racist stuff for the past 34 years. He's 84 years old, and he dresses in these loud jackets and spouts off. And he's been saying all kinds of stuff over the years and gotten away with it, racist stuff against French Canadians and Europeans and you name it. But Saturday night, he outdid himself by saying, you people, he's referring to the brown immigrants, like myself. I'm Pakistani. So you don't even pay $2 for a poppy. Do Americans buy poppies to put in their lapels?
Yeah, it's a veterans thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, my dad was in the British India Army. I always buy one, blah, 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 whatever, right? But so he's blaming you people come to the land of milk and honey or something. And I'm thinking, he lost his job. So they fired him over that one. So what I'm saying is that kind of stuff is not tolerated. Like, he was an institution, 34 years on this Coach's Corner things. It was a 7-minute segment, and the whole country is buzzing about it. But the fact is this, that the separation, the othering, is not acceptable in 2019. That even in Canada, he got fired. And his response was, I'm not sorry, I'm no robot. I meant what I said.
Well, this is interesting because clearly, like A Course in Miracles kind of frames it like so. Like any behavior we have, any choice we make, anything we choose to do, we could think of it as we believe our salvation is rooted in this. So, reading A Course in Miracles, perhaps, well, we are doing it because in some way we believe that salvation, and that's just a term, that enlightenment, whatever, full realization is attained through doing it. So clearly this gentleman thinks that salvation comes through these remarks, but we know that it's not true. So, I mean, we know it's a mistake And clearly, I don't think maybe he should be on TV if people don't like that. But we can't go so far as to judge this person because of it, because we see it just as a mistake, an opportunity to give love where it's called for. Because really, that's a lacking existence to come from a place where, I mean, to see just differences and where some people are better than others, and like that's just a very hollow existence. So you almost have to, you know, feel for this person in some way. Really, it's an opportunity to give love where one is requested, or so it seems.
Oh, I would just like to draw a line again back. So yes, on a humanitarian and an emotional level and all of that. And then it is his behavior, is what we see in him something in me? Yes, I would say always. And so then, yes, it's the opportunity to have compassion for him and all of that, like really juicy, good stuff. And it's like the supreme opportunity to choose here. And I'm just picking up on how you keep saying that over and over again, Tim. There's either you choose or you don't. So when I say choose, I'm talking about atonement and forgiveness and love. And the thought I had a minute ago was, anytime I'm looking out there in the world and I'm thinking, that's impatience, that's aggression, that's hostility, that's mean, anything of that type of thing, not the love category of stuff. It's like, I had this thought, take any of those words and say to myself, this is aggression against true identity. This is aggression against God. This is impatience. This is lack of understanding. This is stubbornness. It's like this ego battle against God or truth. I'm looking at truth there behind you. So any word I might use that I see in the world, which is the gift of it, oh, there it is. I see it. And then to realize, well, yeah, that's here. If it wasn't here, it wouldn't be there. So it's here. And it's actually aggression against God, which is ego protecting itself to stay alive.
And it comes with the word trying, comes to mind. Trying to separate from God, trying the impossible, trying, getting the one more thing, and then you need another thing to get happy, and then maybe it's one more thing, and then it's maybe the next model. Trying, and maybe criticize this person, criticize one more person, and you keep trying, and whatever is searched for, whatever is sought is not found, because it's all directed outwards in the sense that is not me.
And when re-identification has happened, that's sort of a weird way of saying it, but when there's the identification with capital I, you don't even see those people as aggressive, or I don't know exactly what you see because I'm still hanging out here in the small I world, but I imagine that you wouldn't see anybody being aggressive or non-loving, or the world would be like bright and shiny and lovely.
It's lovely.
Well, I think it is getting, like, you see, the moral of the story is, I do need to preach, of course, like what I was going to say is that in Canada now, it is, what were you saying, nice and shiny? What was the word you just used? I thought it was lovely, Karen. You just used it.
Something shiny and lovely.
Yeah, or I'll use the one I just learned, engoldenment, right? Like, it's not just us guys here in the ACIM discussion, but the standards for speech. And I think that partly the catalyst for this is the American president, because our recent election was more contentious and more defamatory than any thus far. Like, because of the new standards which are set in the United States, and the whole world follows. So for this to happen, I can think thoughts as can anyone else, but to have this gentleman, his name is Don Cherry, broadcast them over 34 years and finally be stopped, because the vibration is amplified when there are that many millions watching Canada's national sport. So I'm just saying that I think more people are listening and more cobwebs and reasons are being cleaned.
Maybe his was such a big ass, projection that went out to so many people, because so many people, required or, had to hear it, that it's like, it's here. And now, maybe, because that was stopped, maybe that's an indication that there's less people that need that gift of his projection to be aware of that it's time to choose. I don't know. I got this different.
I mean,
I got a different framework happening here, and it has nothing to do with the others.
Yes. And yeah,
nothing to do with the others.
And anytime it's rooted in, well, this happened because of such circumstance or because of this, we as imaginary selves are saying, my power is in this circumstance's hand, which is outside of my control, so I just give it up. It's that person. This person has all the power. There's a tendency to do this, at least in this country, to say, this person, we need to get this person to change. All that's saying is that I give all my power over to this one person. So it's not solving anything.
Collective unconscious. You don't believe in that.
Collective unconscious is a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
And it's a part of the world of perception.
But remember, the collective unconscious is within. It stems from within.
Yes, but what amazes everyone is that the number of complaints that came in about this particular incident crashed their websites. That so many people phoned or emailed or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So all I'm trying to say is that there is no tolerance for that now as of Saturday night, whereas he said very similar things over the years.
And this gets back to this reading, actually, where right-mindedness essentially is subject to degrees, where we're on the degree to right-mindedness, so to speak. Clearly, it's better to be accepting of all people than to not. So, at least we've made that step in collective right-mindedness.
It seems so. If he's been cut off.
Well, that is what is truly amazing, because the Canadian obsession with ice hockey, I mean, it's an addiction.
You didn't have to say any words, Shabana. Your face said it all. And I do think it's important to it's important because there's also a tendency to take a moral high ground and say this person, they should be punished and all this sorts of thing, and that's not truth. It's we could be vigilant for God and God's kingdom, but not judgmental, not condemning, regardless of what's going on.
I don't care what happened to him, Tim. I really don't. I honestly do not.
But we do. But
you might. But
does God?
There's that cobweb again. That's that shadowy cobwebby place.
Yeah, but see, I mean, if I don't see the humor in it, I may as well, not bother. Like, the only thing I saw is that the boomerang came back. That's all. I don't watch hockey. I only listen to the news, and the news never shut up about the man. It's been going on for a week more. I mean, everyone has a list of his sins, and I'm thinking I'm at least as racist. Who cares? I mean, I might clean up better because of him, but it sure was a spectacle.
Indeed. And it can be only indeed that these things happen, not in truth.
Indeed. Never took that apart before.
There was a word that, what were we discussing? Getting back to it. Understanding.
Yeah.
Now, Karen Gordon, as you brought up understanding last week, perhaps we can finish on this thought that A Course in Miracles presents a lot of conflicts that are button topics, particularly in religious Christian talk. Holy Spirit, sin, God, Christ. It takes them, it doesn't discard them, it redefines them because they are useful when they're understood from the proper lens. So Christ, for instance, is a very powerful tool of thought. So is Holy Spirit, sin. All of these concepts are useful when framed in the proper way. Understanding last week was brought up. And at least I had taken understanding to be something that's unnecessary. And perhaps that is still true in this understanding. But if we take this word apart, and I think this only works in English, which is cool. Understanding. So what is it that's under our standing? It's the floor, really anything that's a foundation for us to stand. So an understanding is really a foundation for right perception, for knowing. Understanding is not knowing. Understanding sets us up for knowing. And in that way, it is very helpful.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, very impressive.
Well done.
Well done, Spirit. I think that was last night or 2 nights ago. Understanding. Yeah.
Or as they say in North Yorkshire, well done, you. Where my sister lives, by the way. Yeah. Well done, you. No, I like that. Good.
Where's North Yorkshire?
England.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was wondering, that's a long way away from where you are.
Yeah, she's far away. Well, she would say I'm far away.
Yeah.
The other side of the pond, she says. Understanding, it kind of feels like foundation. Yeah, support.
Yeah, and I think that it goes right along with right perception or right-mindedness. It's this prerequisite, this foundation for knowing or being, really. It's a nice thought, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Glad you came back around.
Okay, one more final thought. And this is just with perception, and I'd like us maybe all to chime in on this. So our next week is beyond perception. Perception is over here in this realm of the ego. How can we choose to perceive perception? And this is a question. How can we choose to look at perception as something that is beneficial, that is helpful for us to get us into hear truth? Because clearly there's a mode of perception, a mode of perceiving perception as different bodies, different minds perceiving one another. But how can we reframe perception so that it is helpful, beneficial?
I think it's what I've been trying to get at. I'm going to stop saying trying. I think it's what I've been speaking about.
What I'm arriving to now, yeah.
Today. Well, I mean, with different words, different statements and questions, I would define perception or describe perception as this gift, this grand gift, this unbelievably amazing opportunity to decide to choose. Like at its most simple level. Anything that I see in the world or feel or think, it's either right thinking or it's error. So hang out in error if I feel like it, if I want to, or if I just do, or choose. Over and over and over and over and over again all day long. And in my dreams, and then start again. That's, to me, that's the world of perception.
It's rooted in choice.
Rooted in choice. It's, well, I'm not, you might want to say more about that, but I'm looking at it as something that is imaginary, but can be used as an opportunity to choose, to get the hell out of the imaginary world. No, I didn't mean it in that kind of like, no, please.
Well, no, I think but quite literally, get the hell out of the imaginary world. Like, let's just, at least if we're imaginary world, we might as well make it heaven, right?
Yeah. Might as well, because we choose, and then like I said before, like, well, I don't know, really, it's bright and shiny and lovely, but it's like I'm still looking at the other. I mean, I admit it, like all day. But choose, doing that all day too. Choose. But it's still in this perceptual world that all of that's happening, because that's where that is the only level where atonement exists. So that's what we do here.
I have a different word. If I used to tell my children when they left the house in the morning to go to school, be a blessing. So what I would say now, instead of I choose, like, I could say I choose to bless, but I could just skip the choose and just say I am the blessing, or I bless.
What do you mean by bless? I'm just wondering.
To see, I have it written on my battered old card, my index card that I carry around when I go for my walk. But what Tim sent it to me is that what I wish for my brother, I'm wishing for myself. What is it, Tim? That he
Oh,
can.
in order for when you deny a blessing to a brother, you will feel deprived. So the
Yeah.
only way for you to have your blessing is to give it.
Yes. And so if I could just skip the part about I choose, I mean, that's, I don't know, instead of truth, I would have put love, Tim. I always have to correct you.
Love as a verb. You mean love as a verb?
Yes, to love. Yes.
Love.
Yeah,
Well,
love and bless, like blessing means joy, right? So,
sure.
yeah, so the idea is that we're in this discussion group now because we've already made the choice. That's a no-brainer. But we can fine-tune that choice by calling it joy or blessing. Because I thought it was pretty darn hilarious that this hockey man with his hilarious, I wish you could see his outfits. It's like the Joker, you know? He's a bombast, whatever, you know, like he likes that. But it did come back, even though it took 34 years, it did come back. But the idea is that our joy, our desire to serve, to unite and glue and reconcile and heal and improve, to take the spiral of evolution upward. That is the essence of that's why we incarnated. And to do this consciously, deliberately, is more than a little willingness. So I would see the choice as being, there's a story about King Saud in, you know, you've heard of King Saud, the one, okay, the tribes the tribes are always fighting, and this one king, where, I mean, he was just a chief, whatever. But he teamed up with the Americans and they dug up the oil and started to sell it. So he wanted to influence people. And when he'd go out anywhere, he'd bring bags of gold coins with him and then toss them up in the air. And people would come running out to grab the gold coins. And as far as I can tell, I have the gold coins of love and joy and peace in my heart. And my desire is to scatter them with my vibration and my words if necessary, you know, with my smile or my greeting.
Yeah.
And your laugh, which I find quite uplifting.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you've got this sense of humor because I think you're hilarious.
You've said.
but you know, the idea is that there is only one choice, which is to spread those golden coins everywhere. That we're rich in those terms.
Yeah, there is no other richness. The one choice, the root, the one choice we could see as like a root choice the root of all choice, which is really the choice, is, now, of course, in miracles, we kind of frame it as we choose to be at one with all, with God, with everything. Choose oneness, maybe. Unity. Now, the illusory choice is to choose separation, coming from a place where that assumes that we're separate, assumes we're different, assumes there's limited, there's all these things are to be rationed. That is the choice. We come, and it's a value, belief. Belief is the root of choice. Belief is the root of choice. What we choose to believe is the choice, is the root. And that's the most fundamental place we can give our choice, our value system, our belief system. And these beliefs, these values are really rooted in full unity or not, or some sort of separation. That is our choice. From that place, that starting point, that center, all of our thoughts come, because what we think stems from what we believe. What we believe is a choice. Now, we can believe in this. And again, this is rooted back in perception, where like this is a tool. Like, is it objectively true? It doesn't matter. This is a tool of thought where we place our choice. Believe and ye shall receive. In Matthew 21:22, believe and ye shall receive. Now, what we believe is deeply rooted in these in the choice or lack thereof, choice or belief in separation. What we believe, we shall receive. Believing in this unity, being one with divine, one with God, one with all that we see, each other, we receive that. And that is communion. That's one with God. How can we try and feel that through any sort of separated means? How can we feel at one with God by accumulating some sort of material wealth? There's no comparison, and we can try, we can think that it will, but it's not. But that's the one choice. And in each moment that presents itself to us, is our choice reflected back at us? Are we choosing? Or is this another opportunity to choose? Because that which we believe, we receive.
I have to frame that differently. I'm looking at your shirt, Tim. Of course, I have to argue with you.
Yes.
I'm looking at your shirt, and I'm looking at that fabric on your sofa, Karen. And I'm reminded of rainbows. Now, I cannot see receiving as a way to live my life. It has to be about giving with no thought of what's coming back. So I visualize a pot of gold. Those are the gold coins that the old king used to scatter, like those were material things with which he bought his kingdom. It's called Saudi Arabia, right? His name was King Saud. So he built an empire, whatever, But what I've got is a pot of gold in my heart with these coins of joy, and there is a rainbow going from my heart to Tim's heart and to Karen's heart and to Jane's heart, which is the love in whatever form. And I have it written here. Yeah, here it is.
Hi,
Oh.
Jane.
Jane.
Hi, Jane.
I turned on.
Yeah, you did. That's so
Last
great.
minute.
And more color in your red shirt.
I sit too low.
A little bit.
Much of me.
Camera down.
Nice kitchen you got.
Well,
Lots
this isn't the kitchen. This is where I make scrapbooks, or scrapbook pages.
Ah, craft room.
It's beautiful.
Scrap room, yeah.
Here it is. It's in my diabetes logbook. I am here to represent him who has sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. So all I have to do is open my mouth and whatever's coming out, those gold coins.
So, Shabana, how many gold coins do you have?
Unlimited, boys,
So, but they're in a jar.
No!
Where do
That's
they come from?
from the engoldenment, darling.
And when do you get them?
They're always there.
Only when you give them away do you have them.
Yeah.
Yep, by giving you receive. So it's not separated, they're the same thing. We
But
can't give. We can't give if we don't receive.
Yeah,
It's the
but
same thing.
okay. But it was kind of fun.
It is fun to give and receive.
I'd
Rainbows.
I would like to say too that when we give the rainbows, we can give in that innocence, that universal application of innocence. And we can also sometimes give blessings in the attitude of lack, like they need it. They need the blessing. They need the peach. They have to have it. I have to bless them. And that's a little bit of a different, that's a lot of a different way of giving.
Giving from a place of lack.
Giving from a place of perceived lack in the other. God bless, for instance, because you are like failing, man. You are like in need of blessing here because you are living life wrong and everything's off, God bless. That innocence, just God bless. Like you said, Shabana, without any thought about receiving anything from it, and then Tim added, beautifully to that for all of us. But I know that there are two ways to think about ourselves blessing and giving those rainbow coins. And one is just pure innocence and love. And the other is because I think there's something wrong with you or you need something. So I'll help you out here. It's different.
As we believe, we receive. So we're bringing that into our existence if we come from that place of lack.
And it keeps us in the small I world because it's not the universal innocence. So long as there's a little sliver or a little corner where we're acting or thinking in an attitude of lack of any kind, that is small I.
Okay, let me just run something by you real quick because we're about a little. Can I or should leave it alone?
What's that?
We're running over 6:30 now.
Oh, we can go a few minutes over. It's fine.
Okay, I'll be real quick. Karen, here's the story. And I think it's wonderful that Jane, you showed up when I was talking about the rainbows. So I'd appreciate your comment too, and I'll be as quick as I can be. I was at an antique market close to closing time, and this woman had very, very beautiful things. And she was packing them up, and I need nothing at all. But I was impressed by what she had. So I said, you really got some amazing stuff. So she said, make me an offer, for anything. And I was thinking, I mean, those big, I couldn't get another toothpick into my place. So I said to her, I don't know, it told her how beautiful she was and how much I liked her necklace and all that, right? And she was very pleased. But I couldn't buy anything. But I did say what I honestly believed. So those were the coins. And then she made some sarcastic comments about how the bank fees are going to go up as soon as the economy improves. And I said to her, yeah, well, they could come down,
Another gold coin. A little bit of optimism.
I don't know, but I didn't spend a cent on her. I just don't need anything. And it's not a charity she's running. Like if it were a charity, I would have bought a ticket or whatever, right? But.
Well, all these things are still rooted in like physical stuff where that's not the blessing. The blessing is what you said.
That was intent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is to just bless with kindness. And I always told my kids, none of your teachers is doing this for a salary. They're doing it to impart values and thinking ability. So what you say to them, how you compliment them and how you love them is their salary, not the paycheck.
When the children do that, you mean to the teacher?
Well, I just said that, this is a calling. It's not.
Oh, for the teachers.
Yeah. And I mean, most of them get these big gifts and take them straight to a charity because they don't want the gifts. They want somebody to appreciate that they've put their heart and soul into this, like Tim does,
Educating, teaching, teacher.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a room of teachers.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, and I'm glad that you're scrapbooking, Jane, because I love that.
Oh, do you?
What part of the world are you in, Jane?
I'm in South Dakota, near Sioux Falls, which is the largest city in South Dakota. And it is 7:30 here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now you will have to tell me where you all are.
I'm in Eugene, Oregon.
And I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh, yes.
I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Oh,
It's
still in Canada. You were talking about it.
Yeah, well, I have lived, when I first came here, just above North Dakota. So that's the closest I've ever been to you.
Oh,
You'll have to collaborate on a scrapbook one day.
Yeah.
let's collaborate on A Course in Miracles now.
Yeah, even better. That's fine with me.
I love what you say. All of you.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you for joining and coming on camera for the ending credits.
I have to look at myself very long.
Well, you're beautiful, and I'm glad to see you.
Yes.
Indeed.
Oh,
Indeed. So thank you, Jane. And the beauty that's shared here transcends any physical picture. So thank you for most importantly being here and sharing this with us and all of us here.
And you're also very beautiful, Mrs. Karen Gordon.
We all are.
yes. We need to look past the body into the mind.
The correct answer, Karen Gordon, was thank you.
Was it?
You got that wrong.
Thank you, Shabana. My goodness.
And well, Jane,
I look like my father, by the way.
I'm glad he was handsome. Otherwise, you would have been in trouble.
oh boy.
So I was told when I went to a memorial service one day. You look just like your father. Do I? Okay. Anyhow.
Thank
Are
you,
we
Tim.
leaving now?
Yes, we're wrapping up, Jane. Thank you for joining us. And next week we're talking about, the section is called Beyond Perception.
Yes.
And I suspect it will be a bit more about identifying with mind rather than body or and so forth. So right on this theme.
Tim, if you could post last week's on YouTube, I'd be grateful.
Sure, I'll send you whenever that, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm just so fed up with everything that's going on, and Zoom isn't nearly as helpful as they used to be.
So does Community Circle have a YouTube channel? Or where does that go?
No, it's a separate thing.
Humanities Team or what?
Humanities Team. Yeah, I'll say it's a playlist, so I could just send a link.
Thank you.
I'll have to send a link. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
God bless. I love us all.
And I love you, Tim.
Thank you, Shabana.
And